the Russia collusion hoax.
President Trump has just been impeached on both Article 1 and...
The only president of the United States to be impeached for a second
January
time.
6th committee releasing its final 845-page report.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted.
Remember this: nothing worth doing ever came easy. Following your convictions means you must be willing to face criticism from those who lack the same courage to do what is right. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. Embrace that label. Being an outsider is fine. Embrace the label. Because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead.
This is a party that wants an outsider badly.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
You must keep pushing forward. Never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit, you'll want to go home. I can't do it. I can't do it. Just never quit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. And you will have the faith to replace a broken establishment with a government that serves and protects the people. If they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way. And I always will stand in their way.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey.
So we don't have a question worth pondering tonight. Well, we probably have a million questions worth pondering tonight.
Oh, so many. I can't come up with just one.
Yeah, so we are covering the indictment of Donald Trump live tonight, giving our reactions. And then Donald Trump is expected to speak at Mar-a-Lago at 8:15. So shortly, in about 12 minutes from now. We'll see if it starts on time. But Moxie, what are your takeaways from today? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so we were preparing for this for the last couple of weeks. We were thinking about it. What happens if this happens? And what are they actually going to go through with it? And we totally saw this coming. But for some reason, it feels just unreal that this is the point that we're at.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. I probably have similar thoughts, but I am not very concerned. Oh, I forgot to post earlier, but Misty had posted earlier that Misty G, if you don't know, follow her. But she posted that his next court appearance is in December. So
December?
That's what I think. Maybe I should go to her Telegram and make sure I read that right. But yeah, I think this will drag out into the full election season. So
how convenient.
Yeah, and the indictment was unsealed. There's 34, I think. 34 counts.
34 charges.
They're all similar, but some for different things, but it looks like to me, and you know, I'm not good at legal docs. I think Just Human will probably cover that part of it really good. But
I have to lean on him a little bit.
Yeah, I have to lean on him too. But it looks like the counts are writing checks and putting in general ledger entries. I'm not 100% on that. I haven't studied it in full. I've been working all day, so I haven't had a chance to really read it in detail. But there is some interesting things. I have to set up a sharing screen so we can go over some of the things that came out today.
Yeah, I looked it over too, and I skimmed a little bit because we were getting close to time to come here, and I had to go vote because
You're in Wisconsin. Oh, when are the results coming out for the Supreme Court?
I think the polls close either right now or in an hour.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's 7 or 8 o'clock here, but it's
Gotcha.
I think it's 8 o'clock.
Okay. So one of the first things, it was confirmation that the charges are related to what they're calling hush money, and Trump and others are calling it extortion. So we will see how that all plays out. It will be very popcorn worthy. You know, when a DA convenes a grand jury, there isn't this both sides get to make their case kind of thing. It's just the DA gets to make their case. So there hasn't really been the discovery phase. And so this will be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah,
But,
and I'm surprised that of the 23 people, I mean, it's up to 23 people that end up on a grand jury. 12 of them have to decide that, yeah, we're going to move forward with this.
oh, okay. So it's just a basic majority.
Mm-hmm.
So they intentionally have an odd number of people so that it can't be.
Yeah, the number can range from 16 to 23. I'm not sure how that's decided, but it's so that they have enough people in case, people get sick or anything. And they have to sit in these. And these grand juries don't just meet for a couple of weeks. It's more like a couple of months.
Ah, interesting.
So it was very interesting to dive into the whole grand jury process when I was looking.
Yeah, that is interesting. It looks like Carrie said hello. Carrie's in chat. She's not joining us tonight, but she's in Rumble chat. If you want to join her and have a conversation, give us any tips and tricks of things you've seen today. But we'll start with this Technofog. Technofog posted that there's a curious omission in the Donald Trump indictment and statement of facts. And that omission is the specific federal law that Trump supposedly violated. So it's not listed here. And I think in the indictment, the state laws are listed, but those would be misdemeanors. I'm not sure, though. We'll have to watch Just Human show tomorrow if he's on. I don't know. So he's got highlighted here from August 2015 through December 2017. The defendant orchestrated a scheme with others to influence the 2016 presidential election by identifying and purchasing negative information about him to suppress its publication and benefit of the defendant's electoral prospects.
So I have a question. Can states bring a federal case?
Well, I'm not sure about that either. I'm not a legal expert, and we don't have an expert on hand, but it is curious. And Clandestine has a really good thread too. But before we go there, I'm going to pull up Dawson Field on Twitter. He puts out something kind of interesting that the first 4 charges place the president in New York committing crimes on February 14th, 2017. But Comey's memos placed Trump in the White House. So he wasn't even in New York.
Oh, that's interesting. How can he be in two places at once?
So it says here, the defendant in the county of New York. Let me know if I'm getting close to 8:15, but the defendant in the county of New York and elsewhere on February 14th, with intent to defraud and intent to commit another crime. This is interesting. The county of New York and elsewhere. Does elsewhere cover Florida or Washington D.C.?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. So he's got a statement here. This looks like it might be from Wikipedia on Comey's statement. So that is kind of interesting. I didn't open up this. Oh, this is just the Supreme Court. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. Then he says the next count is on March 16th or 17th. Count 6 and 7 are on March 17th, 2017. Also, Trump was in the White House on those days. And on April 12th, June 19th, counts 9 and 10 are on June 19th. So he repeated the June 19th. And then 11 and 12, counts 11 and 12 on May 22nd, 2017, May 23rd. So they're saying that that he's in New York City. But here, look at this. President Trump was in Israel and the Palestinian territories. So he was on was that when he had his world tour? I don't remember.
He's got a little bit of an alibi there.
Yeah, it's interesting. So he kind of lays that out in all of these. There's a whole bunch. I'm not going to go through them, but the point is made. It's kind of interesting. So we're finding a couple of curious things on the indictments. I do want to go to Red Pill in a minute. One of the things is Dan Scavino said the guardrails are off, a turning point in the United States of America. There's no going back. This is quite unreal to indict and arrest a former president. Donald Trump also posted, I'll increase this. So Alvin Bragg shut down New York City, brought in 38,000 NYPD officers, and will spend an estimated 200 million. Am I reading that right?
A lot of money.
Funds for a totally legal $130,000 NDA. On top of all that, the Ninth Circuit Court just awarded him $122,000 over the $500,000 already awarded from Stormy Horseface Daniels. I love his mean tweets. I don't care. I don't care. You know, people are offended by the way he talks, but he gets his point out. This is so interesting. The Stormy Daniels. So that's what this whole Alvin Bragg's New York City case is about. They're accusing him of hush money, but yet Stormy owes him legal fees because she sued him for defamation of character and did not win that case.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's not that photo. I've got another photo. No, not that. So this was Trump today. I might have to pull up. Let me just go back and pull this up again because I don't know where I put it. But I want to pull up her statement. In January 30th, 2018, we covered this in our previous podcast, not last one, but a couple of weeks ago. So she signed a statement saying that all of this is bull, pretty much. So I'm going to just read it because I had a request in chat that I read things that I put on the screen. So because it's hard to see on some people's screen. But basically what she said on January 30th, 2018 is, it says official statement from Stormy Daniels. To whom it may concern, over the past few weeks, I have been asked countless times to comment on reports of alleged sexual relationship I had with Donald Trump many, many years ago. The fact of the matter is that each party to this alleged affair denied its existence in 2006, in 2011, she has a typo there, 2016, 2017, and then again in 2018. So they've been denying this ever happened. Both Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump are like, this didn't happen. She said, I'm not denying this affair because I was paid hush money, as it's been reported in overseas tabloids. And that's what Donald Trump's being indicted on. She said, I'm denying this affair because it never happened. I will have no further comment on the matter, and please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at the Stormy Daniels. So I'm sure this will come up in the trial. Actually, what's really interesting, we covered it a couple weeks ago, and after we covered it, I saw it going like all over the place. And, you know, we're tiny, so I don't think anybody saw it on my little channel. But Donald Trump even posted the statement, which was interesting, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It doesn't look like Trump is talking yet.
Okay, we're
on
close,
the live
though.
stream. I just realized we need to keep an eye on it.
Okay. All right. I actually have it in a different browser. So please ping me as soon as he comes on, because I'm going to have to change the what I'm sharing here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, so that was interesting. Eric Trump kind of said the same thing. Oh, here. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show. So there are folks that are against Trump that are saying that they shouldn't mention the judge's wife or daughters or anything like that. But this Glenn Kessler, he works for fact checking for the Washington Post, and he talks out of both sides of his mouth. And he literally, there's like Molly called him out on doctoring a tweet of Eric Trump and Don Trump Jr. So I'll pull that up next. But basically, he talked about Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And then he complained that Trump's sons have posted photos on the judge's adult daughters.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Right? But Molly Hemingway, she called him out. She said, did you really just deceptively edit these tweets in order to falsely portray the linking of a news story about a public figure as the posting of a private individual's photo? And she said, wow, banner freaking week, Glenn. So, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And Adam Schiff, let's see what he had to say today. Hey, you guys, comment in chat if you see any funny posts. Oh, it looks like, does it look like the speech is coming on or no? It's still a room.
I'm not sure. I'm looking at the stage, but there's no one on there yet. Like, they're going from the back of the room forward.
Okay. All right. If anybody's in chat and wants to let us know if you're like listening to the live stream and it's about to come on. Adam Schiff, though, he says it's a somber moment in the life of our country. Yeah. And he's been going after Trump since Trump became president. So
And
Carrie confirmed in chat that the next hearing is December 4th. So,
yes.
yep. Thank you, Carrie.
So that's
Now
8 months from today.
What's that?
8 months from today.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a while, isn't it?
They're gonna drag that out as long as they can.
One thing I want to call out is it's really interesting that Palm Sunday began Holy Week. And I just wanted to show Red Pill Pharmacist. She's on Twitter as Red Pill Pharmacist. I believe she's on Truth Social too. You'll have to let me know if you're on Twitter, Red Pill. I don't know. Am I following you on Twitter? I hope so. She's great. So anyway, she put out a really good reminder here that with all that's going on, remember that this is Holy Week. And I hope the time is not lost on us. We are in a good versus evil time right now. We're in biblical times. The timing is very interesting. So yeah, it's there's a lot of parallels going on right now with what happened in biblical times, and it's like a modern version of some of this stuff. So
I think we're getting close.
Okay, let me pull that up, and then so we have it available. How do you know we're getting close?
It looks like people are coming in. I don't know if those were Trump Jr. and I don't know, but I think he's going to be coming in real quick here.
Okay.
They're zooming in on the doorway. Looks like something's happening.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Let me present, share screen. There it is. All right. So let me turn the sound on for this so you can all hear it.
We did not have our app, I don't believe, developed, but we do now. So Rumble has been a great partner, so I just encourage everyone to jump on to Rumble. And while you're there, sign up for Locals. It's a great way to get some behind-the-scenes stuff. And like I said, I'm planning on doing a Locals probably tomorrow to update everybody. All right, let's see if we get an announcement. Here we go.
The next president of the United States, President Donald. Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
No.
No.
From the lakes.
No.
Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. But there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all. And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. From the beginning, the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that? They attacked me with an onslaught of fraudulent investigations. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax number one. Impeachment hoax number two. The illegal and unconstitutional raid on Mar-a-Lago, right here. The lying to the FISA courts, the FBI and DOJ relentlessly pursuing Republicans, the unconstitutional changes to election laws by not getting approvals from state legislators, the millions of votes illegally stuffed into ballot boxes and all caught on government cameras. And just recently, the FBI and DOJ in collusion with Twitter and Facebook in order not to say anything bad about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which exposes the Biden family as criminals and which, according to the pollsters, would have made a 17-point difference in the election result. And we needed a lot less than that, like about 16.9. It would have been in our favor, not my favor, our favor, because our country is going to hell. And we remember the 51 intelligence agents who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. It didn't exist. It was Russian disinformation. Remember that? And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI when they all knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation. And so much more. Our elections were like those of a third world country. And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody. Even people that aren't big fans have said it. They said this is not the right thing to do. It's an insult to our country, as the world is already laughing at us for so many other reasons, like our open borders, our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world, lost 13 magnificent young lives, and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms and legs and facial obliteration. The most embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. then give up on energy independence and even energy dominance. We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation ×2. We had this all just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before, the open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks to kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th president of the United States, who received $75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said, because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, you know, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately. Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know, the boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked. The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. We can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home, which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter's done, Ronald Reagan has done. Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails, and that was okay. But nobody's done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say he's even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown. You believe that? Just got $10 million from China. Where did that come from? I guess they were banking on Hunter's expertise and had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his garage floor where his now very famous Corvette is also stored. All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? That's obstruction. As president, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic if I take them with me. It's automatic, declassify. Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable. And other senators, including Democrats, are outraged. But he's not being harassed and hounded like the people who work for me are. In fact, they seem to have forgotten about his documents entirely. So many, thousands and thousands. It's okay with him. They like to say that I'm obstructing, which I'm not, because I was working with NARA very nicely until the raid on my home. But Biden is obstructing by making it impossible to get the 1,850 boxes or explain why many documents were located in Chinatown. Can't explain it. Why were they in Chinatown? I don't know. Lastly, I'm under investigation. This time a civil investigation by another racist in reverse, who also campaigned on, I will get Trump. I will get him. This was her campaign. Never ran for office. I will get him. Her name is Letitia James. And she proclaimed while campaigning, quote, I look forward to going into the office of the Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home. Before she knew me. She announced, what is fueling my soul right now is Trump. And that she had her eyes on Trump Tower. Those eyes are focused on Trump Tower. Didn't know the young lady. She even assured her supporters in an election promise that we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally. Yeah. And then she claimed that I was an illegitimate president. Think of that. With all we did on energy, with all we did on the military, on taxes, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, right to try, people able to get drugs now that aren't approved. Hopefully you don't have that problem. Letitia James vowed to use every area of the law to, quote, investigate President Trump and his business transactions. Those transactions are going to be investigated, she said. And that of her family and his family, because we're going after his family and we're going after them hard. This is all before entering office and all before knowing anything at all about me, but you're going to get me. This is why, along with unrelenting crime, so many people and companies are leaving New York. She said that I falsified my financial statements, but in fact, we're proving and will prove that my financial statements were substantially more than we submitted, not less. And in all cases, have a strong disclaimer clause in them, which tells the institutions that may look at that if they want to, not to rely on the statement. But they've got a problem with their case because, number one, I'm very underleveraged. They can't believe it. All the stuff they read and gave. And have very little debt relative to the value of assets. And importantly, not one bank has lost even $1. She was investigating me to save banks. They have very good lawyers. But they didn't lose $1 with us during this period of time. In fact, the banks we're talking about made almost $200 million off Donald Trump, and they liked me very much. We never missed a payment, never got a default notice, had a great relationship with all of them. I don't need banks. They have a lot of cash. I built a great business with my family, built a fantastic business. I have a son here who's done a great job, and I have another son here who's done a great job. Tiffany. And Ivanka and Barron will be great someday. He's tall. He is tall, and he's smart. But I have a great family, and they've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much. They've gone through hell. So she's suing me over banks that weren't defrauded, when she should be focused on violent crime that's driving people out of the state. This is a persecution, not an investigation. She's put our family through hell. It's cost hundreds of millions of dollars to defend. But our heads are held very, very high. They want to settle the case, but I want no part of that. So here we are now. It's where we were today, in a city that was so great just 4 or 5 years ago. But now we're there, spend time there today, as you possibly read, with a local failed district attorney charging a former president of the United States for the first time in history on a basis that every single pundit and legal analyst said, there is no case. There's no case. They kept saying, there's no case. Virtually everyone. But it's far worse than that, because he knew there was no case. That's why last week he delayed for a month and then immediately took that back and threw this ridiculous indictment together. Came out today, everybody said, this is not really an indictment. There's nothing here. My lawyers came to me and they said, there's nothing here. They're not even saying what you did. The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information, for which he should be prosecuted, or at a minimum, he should resign. And Alvin Bragg's wife confirmed a report that claimed her husband has Trump nailed on felonies. She has since locked down her Twitter account. His chief prosecutor, who represented the Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton and a firm run by Chuck Schumer's brother, Robert, he quit the firm in order to go to work in the DA office in order to get Trump. Can you imagine that? Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Democrat firm. Ultimately, he quit as chief prosecutor because Bragg didn't think he had a case. Think of that same guy that brought this ridiculous thing today. Yet during his investigation, this prosecutor named Mark Pomerantz wrote and published a book saying all sorts of privileged things and has been very strongly reprimanded. He was reprimanded so strongly. I've never seen anything like it. That's probably the end of it. But what he did was probably very illegal, but he was very, very strongly reprimanded. Even District Attorney Bragg was furious with him. They were having a tremendous fight in the office because of it. But hope is never lost because various prosecutors in the DA's office also quit because they thought President Trump was being treated very unfairly. How about that? Isn't that great? Oh, I love them. I'd like to meet them. The DA's office even had a web page. Meet the team of executives who have done this to President Trump. That was the title. Isn't that nice? They immediately had to take it down. Meanwhile, overall crime in New York was up 30% last year, much more than that the year before, with felony assaults, robberies, and burglaries all up by massive, massive numbers. Not the same place that I know, not the same place that you know. And this is where we are right now. I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family whose daughter worked for Kamala Harris and now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign, and a lot of it. We recently had another trial, and the same judge told the fine man who worked for me for many, many years that if you admit your guilt, you will be in jail for 90 days. But if you don't, if we go through a trial and you're found guilty, you're going away for 10 years and maybe longer, which for a 75-year-old man with a great family really means life. What the prosecutors and judge did to that man, I will never forget, because it's right out of the old Soviet Union. That's where we are. They said, you say anything about Trump, meaning that's bad, and you won't even have to serve the 90 days. You'll walk free. And they say that to many of my employees. We have this Jack Smith lunatic threatening people every single day through his representatives. They're threatening jail terms. But talk about Trump and you'll go free. This is where we are as a nation. Who would have thought? They can't beat us at the ballot box, so they try and beat us through the law. That's the country in which we live, however, right now. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. Russia has joined with China. Can you believe that? Saudi Arabia has joined with Iran. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Would have never happened if I were your president. Would never have happened. Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lives would be saved. All of those beautiful cities would be standing. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. Incredibly, we are now a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We can't let that happen. With all of this being said, and with a very dark cloud over our beloved country, I have no doubt, nevertheless, that we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, that was quite a speech, huh?
Up about 30 minutes of speaking here in Mar-a-Lago, going over much of what
Well,
we've
that
kind
was
of
quite
learned
a
over the last
speech,
couple-
huh?
It definitely was. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was still muted. I just didn't know how loud my keyboard was going to be if I was clicky clacking.
Yeah, I was click clacking during it too, so we apologize if you guys could hear that. So, do you have any takeaways from the speech?
I didn't expect him to talk as long as he did, but I don't know why I didn't expect that because he likes to talk. But he did explain quite a bit, and it's just really weird to me that they're bringing up all these charges that don't seem to really hold anything.
Yeah, it is kind of strange because it's almost like they know that it will probably die. So, I don't know what well, we know what their motives and agenda are. They've been after Trump since 2015. So, real quick, Herb is in YouTube, so I want to say hi to Herbie.
Hey, Herbie.
Hey, Herbie. Yeah, it's so Kerry posted, he laid out what we'll be seeing ahead with Biden and others, and that is a good point. So that's one of the things that really stood out to me is how much he talked about what other people have done, but really he really stressed what Biden has done.
Mm-hmm.
But he called out past presidents have like taken boxes of documents, but he really highlighted the Hunter Biden laptop, the fact that that was touted as Russian disinformation by all of the intelligence. Like there were 51, I think, different former intelligence officers who signed a letter saying it was likely Russian disinformation. Now we know it wasn't, and it was real. And the fact that Bragg campaigned on getting Trump, Letitia James, who he hasn't mentioned for a little while, campaigned on getting Trump. This is a preview of what's going to come. They are going to be very sorry when he becomes president again. They're going after him. It's illegal. Like, this is political persecution. And honestly, they are now going to get rougher and tougher, I think, because they can't let him become president.
They cannot. They're in so much trouble if they do. But
It's going to get worse. Yeah, go ahead.
it's becoming very clear that we're living in a police state where you find a person and investigate them looking for a crime, which is not what we do here in the United States. It's not supposed to be like that. You find a crime and you investigate to find out who did it.
Yeah. And, you know, for anybody watching that seems discouraged by all of this, it seems heavy. And, you know, Trump says we're a nation in decline, talks about how it's like the Soviet Union, which collapsed. But honestly, I think all of this is going to come back to them. It's going to come back and bite them. They are going to be very sorry for what they've done. I do believe that justice will prevail in the end. So Remington is on. Hey, Orion, Remington. By the way, I think Remington has a new podcast. It's called The Remington Report, and y'all should check it out.
Why is my stuff not updating? I'm having major issues with Rumble, and I guess Rumble went down a couple of times.
Oh no, it did.
While he was talking.
Okay, it didn't for me, but interesting. So Carrie says nothing can stop what is coming. Since coming down the escalator, the trials and lack of justice Trump has faced have only proven his faith and commitment to our country. It's so true. It just makes him want to fight even more. So 50 Cube says full panic mode. It's a sad day for America. Love it so much. We all love this country so much. Hang tight, stay cozy. It's all going to turn out okay. And another point made in chat is that there haven't been any indictments on the Epstein sex trafficking of minors. We haven't seen the list. No indictments have been done over that, except for Jeffrey Epstein himself, of course, and Ghislaine Maxwell. But we haven't seen the people who they were doing business for. So
they put her in prison for 20 years for trafficking no one to nobody.
Yeah, they really. I hope they unseal. Weren't they going to unseal that list?
They mentioned it, but they haven't yet.
Yeah. Carrie posted Proverbs 17:15, acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent. The Lord detests them both. Very true, Carrie. Very, very true. And Herbie is saying, let's see. He said, yes, they are freaking out totally. Yes, they are. So, yeah, it was a really good speech. Any other takeaways from the speech from you, Moxie?
It was interesting. There was a lawsuit that went all the way to this, or not a lawsuit, but a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court in 2012 with the Presidential Records Act. And that allows them to actually be able to take the documents that they're taking.
Yeah, it's legal.
It was, Bill Clinton kept stuff in his sock drawer that was classified.
Yeah.
And it's just insane that this is where we're going with all of this.
Yeah, Trump said at the very beginning, I never thought this could happen. So I thought it was a really good speech. He called out all the, I think people might forget over the years, all of the attacks that have gone at him. And I know we covered this a couple of weeks ago, but he went through it, man. He said they spied on my campaign. Russia, the whole Ukraine hoax with the phone call and all of that. Impeachment number 1, impeachment number 2. They did an unconstitutional raid. They're accusing him of January 6th. And And honestly, that's political persecution right there. So,
is.
yes, there are people from January 6th that broke windows and broke in, and that's wrong. And those people should be prosecuted. But there are hundreds of people who just were either there on the grounds attending the rally. They were going there to have their voice heard, or they walked into the building and did not see the barricades, because by the time a lot of people got there, the barricades were taken down and police officers were waving people in. So, but then now they've got 800, and I heard that they're about to arrest a whole bunch more for that. So it's President Trump is right when he says they're not coming. They're coming after us. So, but he's just standing in the way. And it's true. He had a lot to say. He said Biden had 1,850 boxes. I don't believe Trump had 1,850 boxes. And then he asked why were some hidden in Chinatown. He had some in his garage at his house. He had some everywhere. But Trump, they asked him to have it in a secure location, make sure it's locked up. He had 4 locks on the door. He did everything they asked him to do, and yet they raided his home.
And he was working with NARA the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
he was complying with everything they asked, and they're still pulling this stuff because they have to do everything they can to keep him out of office.
Well, now they kind of have to, right?
They have to. They absolutely have to, because they're setting precedents that they just can't get away from if he's ever in power again.
Yes, a lot of precedents have been set in this one. Oh, we've got more comments. Let's see. Oh, Carrie, she's so great with our biblical reference. We love you, Carrie. She said King David was familiar with suffering. He was pursued relentlessly by King Saul, and the people loved David just like they loved Trump, but the ruling government of King Saul was, as well as our own in this day, set out to destroy. It's a really good parallel. I was talking about parallels earlier, that is a good parallel with David and Trump. And well, I'm not going to go there. We'll have another podcast on what I'm thinking right now. But anyway, no, it was really good. I thought Trump had strong words and he needed to. It was really sad. For him, he almost seemed emotional talking about how his employees were treated.
Mm-hmm.
His 75-year-old employee was threatened with, you either go to jail for 3 months if you admit wrongdoing and talk against Trump, or you go to jail for 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a life sentence at that point.
Yep. So I thought that was sad. That kind of got me choked up and emotional a little bit, that one. And you could tell that Trump was upset about that too. So he probably doesn't like the fact that the people around him, are being hurt because of all this.
Yeah, they're going to do everything they can, and they're doing that in order to try to make him back off because they can't hurt him. They know they can't hurt him. So they're hurting the people.
I've got my blessed cup.
A nice cup.
Hashtag blessed. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what's next. There's going to be a lot of happenings. And I think we need to stay positive, because I think the ultimate outcome will be a positive one, but it's going to be painful for us to walk through and witness what's happening. But just like when you're giving birth, it's very painful, but then you have a joyful surprise on the other end. So
I was going to compare it to a kidney stone. I mean, this too shall pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but at least with
yeah. But do you have anything?
Do you
have any really great gift on the other end of a kidney
stone?
No.
Okay.
Birth is probably a better analogy, right?
Yeah, I like yours better.
That is pretty funny though. Okay, do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to bring?
I am personally uplifted by everything Trump had to say. I mean, it was hard hearing some of the things that he needed to say, like talking about the 70-year-old employee and stuff. The people around him are getting hurt, but I think he definitely put out a comforting message that he's willing to do this all for us.
He's still willing to fight. It's so interesting. They try to silence him and then he just speaks louder. They try to make him go in hiding and he just refuses. You know, they try to make him cower and he stands tall. So I'm really proud of him. Like he's not ashamed of this because it's not anything he did. It's, you know, a lot of people, if they have stuff happening, they like hide their face. They don't want to be seen. They go quiet on social media. Not Trump. He's like, this is not right. And I'm going to fight this. And I'm still going to be the next president. So kudos to him. He talked a lot about election fraud too. Do you know if our elections were secure? I guess this will be my closing thought. But seriously, if our elections were secure and we didn't have shenanigans going on, like it wouldn't be possible for them to do everything they're doing, right? So
yeah, we'd be able to take care of this and get everybody out that we didn't want in there.
Yeah. And I think that's why he doesn't give up on talking about that, because a lot of wrongdoing happened. And honestly, Georgia's going after him now. We heard the phone call. He did not say what the media says. You know, they take a little bit out of context and you hear the whole context and you're like, oh, never mind. It's like, he didn't say that. But they're going to try to prosecute him on that anyway. They're going after him in Washington, D.C., in New York. So it's really, they're coming hard. They're hyenas on the prowl.
They're throwing everything they can at him, trying to knock him down because they know that they have to.
Yeah, I just hope he has, I mean, I know he has the Secret Service, but I really hope he's protected. You know, it seems like he's divinely protected based off of everything he's been through and all of the stuff that's coming at him. So, yeah, so let's just continue to pray for his protection. And yeah, this was good. I wasn't sure how we were going to do this tonight. You know, with all the happenings, we didn't want to have a separate topic for sure. So,
yeah,
but
I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you, everybody who joined us or is joining us after. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. See you next week.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
I can see clear.